This is Rick Rule for the Rule Natural Resources Investment Symposium, held July 7 through 11 in Boca Raton, Florida, or via live stream in the comfort and convenience of your own home. Those of you who have attended in the past know that over 4 days, we're going to give you over 50 hours of programming, more than you can possibly absorb. The consequence of that is that we're introducing you to all of our exhibitors, all of our experts, and all of our speakers before the conference so that you can allocate your time at the conference more efficiently and be prepared to maximize the advantage that you might draw from the conference. Today, I'm interviewing a friend of very long standing, Frank Trotter, a man that I've known for almost 40 years, and a man that I have the utmost respect for in terms of organizing community banks. Our discussion will be his latest activity, Battle Bank, disclosure of conflict of interest. I'm an investor in Battle Bank in more ways than one, so don't take me as a disinterested third-party participant. Note that every exhibitor at the Natural Resources Investment Symposium has to pass an interesting test, which is to say, I have to own them, or I have to have invested in them, or if they're a service provider, I have to be a customer of that service. And Battle Bank covers both of those. So, Frank, first of all, thank you for your efforts on behalf of depositors. Thank you for your efforts on behalf of investors. And particularly, thank you for your efforts on behalf of myself and your sponsorship going back many years of our Natural Resources Investment Symposium. Welcome.
Thanks so much for having me here, Rick. This is going to be a great conversation.
Tell me something about Frank Trotter. Take me back into Frank Trotter's history in banking and tell me why I ought to care about what he says today.
Well, it's interesting, sometimes I frame myself as a simple country banker, which may not be exactly correct, but conceptually, I really like community banking. Long ago and far away at something called Mark Twain Banks, which was a great Midwestern name. We were downriver from Sam Clemens' old hangout. We had a community bank that covered a lot of Missouri. And in that process, we moved over to the capital markets division and actually started dealing in fixed income, which expanded to foreign currency fixed income. Back then, rates in New Zealand were 27% for a 3-month CD. Australian 10-year notes were 15%. It's a different environment. And along this process, we created something called the World Currency Deposit, our first one taken in January of 1986, which is more than a day or two ago, back when the Dead Sea was only sick. And from that, we have really built a way for people to invest, to diversify their cash holdings into foreign currencies, the world currency products at Mark Twain Banks, which we continued later at Everbank, and we'll have a similar product at Battle Bank. And that's just the beginning of what we did. We also dealt way back then in precious metals. Later, after Everbank or Mark Twain Bank was sold, we started something called Everbank.com. I was a co-founder there. Launched that in late 1999, early 2000, about 8 years before the iPhone, as a direct-to-consumer bank, one of the very first. And at that time, we sort of looked out at the market and said, people aren't being paid for the deposits. They're being charged high fees, and they're not getting great service. Still happening today, but we were able to fulfill that over the next 17 years, building from zero way back when to about $28 billion when the company was sold in 2017. And I think it was really an attention to the clients, a feeling of community, and the development of fair products that serve that community. So that's a quick overview. Happy to go into any other detail, of course, but hopefully somebody will care to listen to me with that background.
Well, over 200,000 people cared at Everbank. It's important to remember that. When people think of community bank, they normally think of community being defined geographically in terms of a locale, like, as an example, Mark Twain at the beginning. But Everbank, and now Battle Bank, describes community, I think, differently. Perhaps you could go into who your intended community is.
We really do think about community as non-geographically. Typically, when you used to start a bank, you draw a circle around the branch, and that was your community. But we really view people who have similar attitudes, approaches, and interests as a community. Battle Bank in particular, we're focused on folks who are self-directed investors, people who want to do things very specifically the way they want to do them. And they typically consume independent financial research. They listen to podcasts, they watch YouTubes, and they're very interested in financial research. They take action based on this. And a lot of the time, they have no place to take that action. So at Battle Bank, we intend to provide them with those facilities to enhance their investment return. We can talk about some of the products in just a minute, but we really focus on that broader community, almost a clan of folks who maybe don't think exactly alike, but are interested in doing things their way.
So if you could talk about that community numerically at Everbank and how you access them, and then talk about the backlog of potential community participants that you have at Battlebank even before opening.
So when we opened Everbank, we had exactly 0 people in the backlog, except people we knew and loved. We got a couple deposits from friends, and certainly all the team members opened that account. But it's interesting, that backlog. What we really did is we reached out through those newsletters, through later podcasts, through even later YouTubes, and talked to that community. We attended conferences, not unlike the conference that you sponsor, and meet those people, talk to them, understand what they need, and try to develop things that really help them achieve their goals. Ultimately, that's the best way we feel to reach that community. And here at Battle Bank, we actually have a wait list. People have been signing up for that wait list for over a couple of years. And we now have over 16,000 people who have signed up for that wait list. We hope you do too. Come there. We provide information on typically a monthly basis, or if there are any special news items. And we also ask questions. What do you want to do? How do you want to see the market? What would you like to see us do? And in fact, we even have a group that's reviewing our website, practicing our online account opening, looking at our online banking. We want feedback from our community, and we hope you become a member of that too. Just go to battlebank.com and join the waitlist.
Now, Frank, before we get into the structure of Battle Bank, tell me something about the unique products. You've identified a community, newsletter subscribers, self-actualized investors, that type of thing. How do you propose to service them better than their existing bank? Or maybe put differently, how do you propose not to service them as poorly as their existing banks do?
Well, I think you start out with the easy stuff. We're going to be paying a wonderful rate of interest. I think if you were opening today, probably about a 385 on full service checking. Some people think of that as a high yield money market account where you really can't do much of anything but pull money in and out. But we really think that you should be able to have your savings and your checking in one place at a high rate and a low fee basis. That's an easy beginning. 2, we'll be providing precious metals services. You could buy, sell, store, or have delivered precious metals, gold, silver, platinum, and palladium, directly to your doorstep, or we'll take care of it and store it for you in our very secure facilities. Another thing is allow you to be diversifying into foreign currencies as a portion of your cash portfolio. About 18 different currencies. You want to have an exposure to the aforementioned New Zealand dollar, perhaps Chinese renminbi, the euro, really pretty much any of the major currencies around the world. That's a great diversifying asset. And along with market index CDs, which are principal protected, but have a theme. Perhaps it's commodities, perhaps it's something else where you have a proportion of that return. And then finally, on the retirement side, we think your retirement account should be your retirement account. Now, if you go to one of the big financial supermarkets, Schwab, Fidelity, Vanguard, you're going to get mutual funds, bonds, stocks, pretty not too many choices. I mean, there are a lot of mutual funds, but still, it's pretty standardized. If you want to invest in income producing properties, if you want to have private equity, if you want to have any other eligible investment in your IRA or your solo 401k, we feel you should be able to do that and direct it yourself. And we'll be offering that sort of product. And then finally, if you want to borrow against your precious metals, most of us don't want to release our precious metals and sell them in the market if we have a use for the cash. So we've set up a way to borrow against your precious metals. If you want to put a deck on the back of the house, you want to make another investment, you want to allocate some of that money somewhere else, but still hold your precious metals. And we're really looking forward to being able to do that and provide that liquidity to customers. So that's a short list of what we'll be doing, and I'm sure that'll expand over time.
Frank, I've been talking about Battle Bank to my own customer base for a very long time, and people increasingly are emailing me saying, "No, when, whether." Some important news is occurring this week. Can you share that with our audience?
I would be delighted to. And, it seemed like forming a community bank like this would be a easy deal, but, anything in the regulatory world these days is taking a little bit longer. But we're excited to announce a couple of things. One, we have agreed to purchase a national bank, Stearns Bank of Uppsala, NA. It's going to be a great transaction. We're going to serve the Uppsala, Minnesota community, and we'll also be able to launch our national banking platform based on that. In conjunction with that, we have filed our application with the Federal Reserve to become a bank holding company when that transaction occurs. That application is now well underway. We've received an affirmative acceptance of that application, and now they're in the process of what they call processing it, taking a look at making sure all the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted. With that, and you can't predict precisely when the regulators will get back to you ultimately, but we're thinking a late spring, early summer opening of Battle Bank. And we're very excited about that. We've been building all the systems for the last couple of years, and we're excited to let customers use them.
I suspect, Frank, given your success with Everbank and given the incredible backlog that you enjoy, that Battle Bank, when it opens, should open with a bang. We've talked about the fact that Battle Bank will be an old-fashioned bank, meaning it'll have money in it, and that requires some money. There is a financing in place, underwritten by a couple people, myself included. Perhaps you could describe that opportunity for people if they cared.
Absolutely. And you can go to battlebank.com/invest to see all the great details and read the offering memorandum. But this is an offering for accredited investors. And it is currently a convertible note that will convert on or about the time the bank opens to common shares. And we really feel, as part of a community, that shareholders and depositors and borrowers should all sort of be in the same book. We're not really out there looking for these giant private equity firms to tell us what to do. The offering is a convertible note. It bears interest until conversion at 7%. And it will convert at the same rate as other shareholders in this pre-opening capital round. So you're in there the same as anybody else if you invest in this. It's a great way to participate in Battle Financial, building Battle Bank, as a $75,000 minimum, and it is for accredited investors only. Of course, you should read the offering memorandum, and it's considered high risk, but we feel that this is going to be an excellent way to participate in the building of Battle Bank.
Frank, the purpose of these interviews is to introduce the attendees at our symposium to the exhibitors and sponsors of the conference. To the extent that people listening today are interested in investing in Battle Bank, depositing in Battle Bank, or borrowing against their precious metals, and I suggest that thousands of them are, who do they contact and how do they reach that person?
Very straightforward. I mentioned battlebank.com. There's a place for the waitlist. There's a place to invest. And you can email us at info, at battlebank.com. That comes to a number of our desktops, myself, Jason Coots, our CMO, Melissa Larkin, our CFO. And if you have a question, if you have an information element that you'd like to hear about, we'll get back to you. We're very responsive in that sense, and we're looking forward to having you as a waitlist member, as an investor, and of course, as a client.
It's the best possible answer. When the CEO says, contact me, the buck stops at the top. Frank, thank you for years of service on behalf of depositors and borrowers, myself included. Thank you for service to banking shareholders, and thank you in particular for your sponsorship of the Natural Resources Investment Symposium. It'll be a pleasure to host you in Boca Raton.
Thank you so much for having me here, Rick. And of course, thank you for your participation in Battle Bank.